If you have very few friends, or no friends at all, this video is not here to motivate you, to fix you, or to make you more social. It's here to tell you the truth most people are afraid to hear. Because psychology shows something uncomfortable. Some of the strongest minds, some of the most self-aware individuals, and some of the most emotionally disciplined people end up alone. Not because they are broken, but because they are rare. If you've ever wondered why you don't fit into groups, why friendships fade without drama, why silence feels more natural than noise.
Stay with me.
By the end of this video, you may realize you were never meant to belong to the crowd, only to yourself first. From a young age, we are taught a lie. That popularity equals value. That many friends equal success. That being alone means something is wrong. But Stoic philosophy never agreed with this. Neither did Carl Jung. Jung observed that individuation, the process of becoming your true self, often requires separation. Not isolation out of fear, but distance out of clarity. Most people bond through distraction, through shared habits, through emotional dependency. But when someone begins to think deeply, to regulate their emotions, to question social scripts, they naturally drift away, not because they reject people, but because they stop betraying themselves. If you have few or no friends, you may be carrying traits that society doesn't reward, but psychology deeply respects. Let's explore them. Trait 1. You possess rare emotional self-control. Before we go any further, we need to pause here, because this first trait, more than any other, explains why so many connections quietly disappear from your life. You don't react immediately. When something happens, you don't explode. You don't rush to speak. You don't let emotion take the wheel.
You pause.
This pause may seem small, but psychologically, it places you in a tiny minority of human beings. Most people are reactive. They speak while emotions are still burning. They text while triggered. They vent to release pressure. And this behavior creates fast bonds. People confuse emotional intensity with closeness. The louder the emotion, the stronger they believe the connection is. But you don't live like that. You feel deeply, yet you don't broadcast it. You experience emotion, yet you don't discharge it onto others. This makes people uneasy, because emotionally regulated individuals force others to confront something uncomfortable. Their own lack of control. Psychology tells us that emotional regulation is not natural, it is learned. It requires self-observation, a delayed reaction, internal processing. Most people never develop these skills. Instead, they regulate emotions externally. Through people, through validation, through attention. You regulate internally. You don't need someone to calm you down. You don't need to be heard immediately. You don't need emotional permission to be okay. This independence quietly separates you, because many friendships survive on emotional dependency. When someone realizes you don't need them to stabilize yourself, they feel unnecessary, and people hate feeling unnecessary. You don't fill every gap with words. When something bothers you, you think first. When conflict arises, you reflect. When emotions rise, you slow down. This silence is often misinterpreted. Some think you're distant. Others think you don't care. Some even think you're judging them. But in truth, you are processing. Emotionally mature people understand this. Emotionally reactive people feel threatened by it. Why? Because silence creates space, and space forces people to sit with themselves. Many cannot do that, so they talk, they vent, they over-explain.
You don't.
And this difference creates an invisible wall. The Stoics believed that the highest form of power is self-command. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about mastering reaction, not to suppress emotion, but to prevent emotion from ruling the mind. You live this principle instinctively. You don't deny feelings. You simply don't let them hijack your behavior. This makes you appear calm in chaos, grounded in tension, unmoved when others panic. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people don't want calm. They want confirmation. They want others to match their emotional state. When you don't escalate with them, they feel unseen, not because you ignored them, but because you didn't mirror them. Social bonding often relies on rhythm. Someone reacts. The other reacts back. but emotions bounce. You interrupt this cycle. You don't echo intensity. You don't amplify drama. You don't feed emotional loops. So the rhythm collapses. Conversations slow. Interactions feel off. People don't know what to do with your calm. Some will try harder to provoke a reaction. Others will quietly drift away. Not because you did anything wrong, but because your nervous system operates differently. You are regulated in a dysregulated world. Emotional self-control is often mistaken for emotional distance. But they are not the same. You feel deeply. You care intensely. You simply don't perform your emotions. This creates loneliness, because very few people understand love without emotional chaos. They equate intensity with intimacy. They equate reaction with authenticity.
You know better.
You understand that real closeness feels safe,
Quiet.
stable, and stability is boring to unstable minds. Carl Jung observed that increased consciousness separates individuals from the collective. Why? Because the collective runs on impulse, on shared emotion, on unconscious behavior. You stepped out of that. You observe yourself while feeling. You watch reactions rise and fall. You don't identify with every emotion that passes through you. This is advanced psychological development, but it comes with a cost. You no longer fit emotional groupthink, and that makes you walk alone more often than not. Let this be clear. Your emotional self-control is not coldness. It is not indifference. It is not suppression. It is integration. You feel without drowning. You care without clinging. You respond without exploding. This is strength, quiet strength, the kind that doesn't announce itself, the kind that doesn't seek approval, the kind that attracts the right people slowly and repels the wrong ones quickly. If this trait resonates deeply with you, understand something important. You were not meant to bond through chaos. You were meant to connect through clarity. Your calm is not emptiness. It is depth, and yes, this will cost you many friendships. But the few connections that remain will be real, solid, unforced, safe, and that is a rare kind of wealth. Trait 2, you seek depth, not stimulation. You don't enjoy shallow conversation. You've tried, you've smiled, you've nodded, but it drains you. Talking about trends, gossip, or surface-level opinions feels like chewing air. You crave meaning, insight, substance. This is not introversion alone. This is cognitive depth. Psychology shows that people with deep internal worlds require fewer social connections because their minds already provide stimulation. You don't need constant interaction to feel alive, but depth intimidates people. When you ask thoughtful questions, when you speak deliberately, when you don't rush to fill silence, others feel exposed. So they drift. Not because you are difficult, but because depth demands presence, and presence is rare. Trait 3, strong inner boundaries. You don't tolerate disrespect.
Not loudly.
Not dramatically. You simply withdraw. You don't argue for your worth. You don't chase apologies. You don't beg for understanding. You leave. This trait alone removes many friendships, because most relationships survive on compromise, unspoken resentment, tolerated discomfort, quiet self-betrayal, but you refuse to fracture yourself, to keep others comfortable. Stoicism teaches that peace is more valuable than approval, and psychology agrees. People with strong boundaries often have smaller circles, but healthier inner lives. You may seem distant, selective, even cold, but in reality, you are loyal to something deeper, your integrity. Trait 4, heightened self-awareness. You notice patterns others ignore, tone shifts, inconsistencies, unspoken motives. You read between words. This makes socializing exhausting, because once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Carl Jung warned that awareness comes with a cost. The most painful thing is to grow beyond what you once were. You outgrow dynamics. You outgrow environments. You outgrow people who refuse to look inward. And growth is lonely. Not because others are bad, but because few are willing to confront themselves. You have. And that separates you. Trait 5, comfort with solitude. This is the rarest trait of all. You are not afraid to be alone. You don't need constant distraction. You don't fear your own thoughts. You don't run from silence. Most people do. They surround themselves with noise to avoid facing themselves. But solitude doesn't weaken you. It sharpens you. Psychologically, this signals inner security. You are not empty. You are not incomplete. And paradoxically, this is what makes your presence powerful. Because when you don't need others, you choose them. And choice is the foundation of all healthy connection. If you have few friends, don't rush to change. Ask instead, what have you grown out of? What no longer aligns? What are you no longer willing to pretend for? Loneliness is not always a warning sign. Sometimes it's a transition between who you were and who you are becoming. Protect your energy. Refine your standards. Trust your solitude. The right people don't find you in noise. They recognize you in silence. If this spoke to you, subscribe for more psychology, Stoic wisdom, and self-mastery. And remember, you are not alone. You are simply becoming rare.